Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to a very sad episode of a Steelers post-game knee-jerk reaction show. For BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, I'm Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and with me, as always, Lance Williams out there on the West Coast. We just witnessed the Pittsburgh Steelers season end 45-42, a shootout with Blake Bortles and Ben Roethlisberger. Who saw that coming? Lance, I want to know knee-jerk reactions. What were your thoughts about the game? I know I have mine, and we'll talk about that, but I want to hear yours first. Go ahead.
The name of the show, listeners, is The Standard is the Standard. And what we saw today is not the standard. 45 points to Blake Bortles and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it never seemed like they had any idea how to stop them from the onset of the game. And to a man, and to a Steeler fan, to a man, to a woman, to Steeler Nation, when the Jags rolled up that 7 points in the first drive, all of Steeler Nation said to themselves, dilly, dilly, here we go. If the mantra is the standard, they got to fix some stuff because they missed the standard by a wide mark and giving up 45 at home, scoring 42, and losing a playoff game is embarrassing. This ain't how it's done in Pittsburgh. This ain't how it's done in black and gold.
No, not at all. You know what? I said this. I did a Facebook Live shortly after the game, and I'm not joking. It was probably 10 minutes in length, and I had over 400 comments in that 10 minutes. I mean, everyone is just spitting fire. Everyone's pissed. I get it. We're both angry as well because we're fans too. We want the team to succeed. We want the team to win. For the first time, Lance, in however long I've been running the website, I'm going into my fourth season now, my fourth draft. I think coaches could be fired. I don't think Mike Tomlin's going anywhere. Not saying that. But I can see some coaches, mainly some coordinators, going. In other words, I could actually see the Steelers parting ways with Todd Haley. In terms of the offseason, I don't want to get too much into that. I kind of want to focus on the game. Ben Roethlisberger did just come out and tell the media, he told Ron Cook of the Post-Gazette that he does plan on coming back next year. So that's a huge question that was, in my opinion, what I predicted was going to kind of like a cloud lingering over Steeler Nation, wondering, is Roethlisberger going to come back? Is he going to play? Reportedly, he is going to play. But real quick, before we talk about the game itself, do you agree with me that there could be some coaching upheaval in Pittsburgh this offseason?
I think the move to get rid of Haley is dependent on Ben Roethlisberger. They scored 42 points in the game. Some of their young playmakers are flourishing. Antonio Brown is flourishing in the system. Le'Veon Bell. All the young guys are flourishing, and Ben is playing really good football. So the question, I would put that on Ben. If there's some personality stuff that's going on and the relationship can't be mended and can't be fixed, he's got to go. The only issue is you have an old quarterback having to learn a new system. So if they do go in another direction, hopefully they promote from within the staff so the system and the verbiage is intact.
I think that's what they would do. I think that Fitchner would be the quarterback coach would be the one to take over. There were all those reports about earlier in the year where he was moved down to the sideline to kind of be a buffer between Haley and Roethlisberger. We'll see how that pans out. To me, Lance, you're a defensive guy, and Keith Butler is the defensive coordinator. He's had 2 years, I believe, under his belt here now in Pittsburgh. Can you please just tell me, this is an honest question, if you know the answer, I want you to say it. What is the identity of Keith Butler's defense in Pittsburgh?
There is none.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That there is none.
There isn't an answer. There isn't an answer. And for all you hip-hop fans out there who know about Sway and Tech, Sway does the radio show for Sirius Satellite Radio for Eminem's radio station. Years ago, he did an interview with Kanye West. And Kanye famously answered one of Sway's questions. Sway, you ain't got the answers. And neither does Keith Butler. And neither did his mentor, Dick LeBeau. Both of those guys look absolutely clueless this weekend. Dick looked helpless. And from the start, Keith Butler's defense had no options, no answers. They give up third down after third down after third down in the second half. It was embarrassing. No adjustments, no nothing. I know there's no Shazier, but they haven't had Shazier for several games. But we've seen this. This was a crack in the dam that had been leaking for the last several weeks that had been cleaned up by outstanding offensive play. Not anymore. And, Keith Butler maybe should go as well.
Yeah, well, my question is, do you think that this is a personnel problem or do you think this is a coaching problem? Because the Steelers have invested a lot into their defense in the NFL draft the past few seasons, and yet although you look at guys like Artie Burns, who is taking steps in the right direction, you look at Javon Hargrave, Stephon Tuitt, all players that are young that are really turning into names in the National Football League. Is this a personnel thing? Because, like you said, Shazier's out. It's a big loss. They're going to have to address inside linebacker in either free agency or the draft this offseason. We know that. But answer the question. Do you think this is a personnel or coaching or both issue?
It's both. I mean, there's no Shazier. We saw it. We saw the impact of no Shazier on this defense. So, and the other thing is, I think Mike Mitchell, they need to look for an upgrade for Mike Mitchell. They need a rangier safety on the back end. I think if you can make adequate replacements in both of those areas, I think the defense takes a step forward. But again, at times, Keith Butler looks overmatched. And he's looked overmatched against some really bad quarterbacks. Kaiser, Blake Bortles, the quarterback from Green Bay, the rookie quarterback, Brett Huntley. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, maybe it was smoke and mirrors early in the year. I'll give Butler some credit for being able to get 56 sacks, but man, on the back half of this season, this defense was hemorrhaging, and it was a full-on hemorrhage today because they got gouged and they got embarrassed. That was embarrassing. And, when you lose like that in the playoffs, there should be some hot water.
Well, and this goes back 2 years. I mean, let's be honest. After the AFC Championship game in 2016, 2017, we were saying the same thing, except they lost to the Patriots in Gillette in the one step away from the Super Bowl. Now you've lost to the Jaguars twice in one season, Blake Bortles twice in one season, and you just got 45 points hung up on you at home.
Jeff.
What?
75 points.
Yeah.
To the Jacksonville Jaguars. 75 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just want to say that one more time. 75 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Now, with that said, 21 of those 75 could be traced back to defensive scores. You had the 2 pick sixes in week 5, and they had the fumble recovery. Let's talk about this game, though. We can talk about coaches. We're going to have time to talk about that. We are going to continue our shows for those that listen regularly. Last year, we were so depressed, we basically took the offseason off. We're going to continue our shows this year. But to me, the biggest turning points in this football game were turnovers. But it wasn't the fumble. It wasn't the interception. To me, it were the 2 failed 4th and shorts that both turned into touchdowns for the Jaguars. Now, no turnover is good, and the interception, which was a tremendous play, defensive play, mind you, was bad, and the fumble, scoop, and score equates to points. I get that. But every time the Steelers were on the cusp of really making a play, man, did they just have the wrong design, the wrong play in mind, running that sweep on 4th and short against a fast and aggressive defense like the Jaguars. Idiotic. Stupid play call, poorly executed, as Tomlin said after the game in his post-game press conference. To me, that was the turning point. Those 2 times that the Jacksonville Jaguars stood tall on 4th and short, and I'm talking 4th and a foot or less. Twitter's going berserk about Ben Roethlisberger doing a quarterback sneak. I knew that wasn't coming. They never run it. I was pissed that they didn't go right up the gut, put Roosevelt Nix in there, run it, get your half yard, have Bell go over the top if he has to, and then play on. But what are your thoughts? What were the turning points in the game for the Steelers?
I don't disagree, because when you add those 2 points and you had the scoop and score, I mean, that's 21 points right there. So, that is the ball game right there. But it goes to maybe a slightly bigger issue. You can't trust this offensive line to get one in the trenches in a playoff game. We saw this last year against the Patriots in a championship game as well, which really turned that game. This is 2 years in a row in the playoffs, in tough spots, in the trenches. You can't get the yard. That has to be addressed as well. They're not moving people in the interior. And we talked about it this year that in a lot of times Steelers have negative runs where you can run the ball on first and second down and you're in 3rd and 8. And we saw a lot of those today. But yeah, Jeff, I mean, you have to hang your hat on this offensive line and trust it. And they did not show the trust there. And maybe that alludes itself to a bigger issue. I mean, they got to be able to move people in there.
Yeah. And I hate to harp on offensive issues, you know, the failed 4th downs, because the offense put up 42 points. And in a game against a defense that is supposedly as good as the Jaguars, and they're good, that should be more than enough to win. That should be absolutely more than enough to win. But yet at the same time, it wasn't. And the Steelers lose, and their season's over. Welcome to NFL draft mode, off-season questions, and there's going to be some huge ones. I'm curious. I'm looking up the team statistics right now. On 3rd down, the Jacksonville Jaguars were 8 for 14 in the game. That's better than 500, and they were 1 for 1 on 4th down. Pittsburgh was 7 for 16. The red zone, Pittsburgh was actually 3 for 3, but the Jacksonville Jaguars were 5 for 5. I just don't.
That's laughable. That's laughable.
It is. I mean, this is Blake Bortles here, and Blake Bortles made some throws, but there were times, and I had to trust me, I had to eat some humble pie. I mean, before he threw that 45-yarder to the rookie that got him down to the 2-yard line, I'm sitting here saying, Blake, keep throwing the ball because he's not good. He is not good. And that just compounds the fact that the Steelers lost this game and makes it look that much worse. Lance, I'd be curious to see if you could somehow figure this out. I do a winners and losers column for the website after every game. I'm still trying to figure out who would be on your let's go winners first, because that's going to be a much shorter list. Who would be on your winners list for this game?
Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Antonio Brown is a monster. I mean, that's like 5 weeks after a calf injury, and he's roasting Ramsey and A.J. Boye. He's an absolute monster. Le'Veon Bell is Le'Veon. He does his thing. Losers, it's Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin. And I'm going to throw in Todd Haley. The coaches are all losers. The onside kick decision was terrible. The play calling on 4th down, terrible. And their lack of adjustments and ability to stop the run or stop this offense, this Jacksonville vaunted offense, is on Keith Butler and the rest of that defense. Absolutely terrible. They're all losers. And to go to your point about Butler, when you were asking the question about Butler, what's happened all year? Inconsistent run defense and big plays the entire season. That has to go to coaching. And they showed up in the biggest spot. They gave up the big play, boo, boo, bang, fish in a barrel, ball game.
Can you, for the life of me, I cannot figure out why Mike Tomlin decided, and he said it was his decision, and it should be, he's the head coach. Why in the hell would you go for an onside kick with 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes left? I just do not understand that at all. I mean, he said that they hadn't stopped them enough consistently for me to want to have them essentially go for it and kick it deep and force them to go the entire length of the field. That's horrible.
That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. The logic is bad because here's the case. You don't have to stop them all game. You only have to stop them on that possession. That's it. You just need 3 good plays. If they can unearth 3 good plays, you give yourself a better chance to win. Now, maybe they don't win, but the way they decided to do it, they absolutely had no chance to win. And they end up scoring a touchdown, which you knew they would, to exacerbate the fact that the decision was absolutely terrible. So they all have to get called into the woodshed, called to the back, and Mr. Rooney used to pull out a switch and switch hands and tap butts on all of them because they all were bad in this game.
Yeah, I'm left with that's a problem, is that there are some times where a game happens and you lose the game and you can point to this one thing. And there were so many issues. This was kind of like the perfect storm. And man, Jacksonville, boy, are they an arrogant group. Rightfully so. That they're in the AFC Championship game. They're playing Tom Brady and company next Sunday. I really don't want to watch that football game or any other football game for a long time. But Lance, don't want to spend too much time harping on the same old things. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, overall, it's a lukewarm season in Pittsburgh. The goal is to win Lombardi trophies. And unfortunately, there's a realistic opportunity that once again, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be tied with a franchise for the most Lombardi trophies. And I hope that burns everybody in that building in Pittsburgh, that it absolutely burns everybody. I hope it burns the fan base, because the time that Ben Roethlisberger is going to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers is coming to a close very soon. So this window, while it looks like it's open, it's about halfway cracked. But the positive thing is there are a lot of good pieces in place. On the offensive side of football, you have young playmakers. On the defensive side of football, Joe Hayden's in the fold, so you have pretty good bookend corners. That front three is solid. You have some issues. The Shazier loss is big. Yeah. What they do about that is big. But this is a very talented football team. It has 8 Pro Bowlers. So you're not starting with the cupboard empty, but damn, this one hurts because it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is not a good offense, and we all think like Tom Brady's going to carve these boys up next week.
Yeah, and we're gonna, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. The Jacksonville Jaguars defense is good. Pittsburgh's offense has been good for the second half of the season. I mean, you put up over 40 points. I mean, that's tremendous. I know that there were some turnovers in there, but let me just read off a quick list of the unrestricted free agents the Steelers are going to have this season. Le'Veon Bell tops the list.
So let me answer. So when you name them, I'll say yes or no if they'll be Steelers, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fine. Le'Veon Bell.
Yes.
I agree, but we're gonna have to we're gonna spend a podcast talking about that because they're gonna have to be real creative on how to do that. Chris Hubbard.
Yes.
No, there's no way he's gonna make too much money in free agency. Arthur Motes.
Right. No.
Arthur Motes.
No,
I agree. Sean Spence.
No.
Lord, no. Please, no. He was horrible today. Justin Hunter.
No.
No. Stephen Ridley.
Yes.
Oh, really? You think they're going to keep him around?
Yes.
Okay, if they keep him, and then the next one, Fitzgerald Toussaint.
No.
Yeah, I agree. No. Daniel McCullers.
No. No.
And I believe being left off this list is Eli Rogers is another one.
No.
Yeah, I agree. And so Le'Veon Bell's the big name there. I think the Steelers need to do something to find a way to bring him back. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about that. So with that said, Lance, any final comments before we call it a show?
Yeah, man. This is it was so bad, Jeff. I got the this is what my daughter said, my youngest said to me. As I was sitting there like, oh man, jeez. She started singing Bob Marley, "Don't Worry About a Thing. Everything's gonna be all right." I was like, thank you. But it isn't. It isn't. These guys got cracked by Blake Bortles.
Here's the thing. The AFC is a top-heavy conference, and it's going to be next year too. You might see a resurgence in a team like the Raiders or something like that. But for the most part, the AFC still sucks. Outside of New England, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, if they can get a quarterback, they're going to be even better next year. And if even Andrew Luck might come back, but ultimately the AFC is up for grabs. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they can bring back Le'Veon Bell, the offense is still going to be dynamic, and the defense is still going to be the question. For the third or fourth year in a row now, the defense is still going to be the question. But like I said earlier, this will be the shows are not going to stop. I plan on doing a show this week. I don't know, we'll see if Lance can join me and talk about Well, I want to be creative on how we handle this. Let's talk about
Right, right,
some
right.
draft needs, free agency.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
have that list, the salary cap.
We
We'll
go.
be able to break that stuff down. We're not going anywhere. We might take some weeks off, but for the most part, we're going to remain here with you. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Go to YouTube, search BTSC Steelers Radio. Follow us on iTunes. The Standard is your search tag there. And then also on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com every day. Lance, I want to thank you for a good season. Sucks that
Thank
it
you,
ended this
sir.
way, and we'll be back. So thanks for listening, everyone out there, and we'll see you next time on The Standard is a Standard.